Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the new CJRB Hectare. What does that look like? What does this knife look like to you guys? Yeah, it absolutely 100% looks like the Bugout. Now, usually I make jokes about that. I say, I imitate people. That looks like a copy of the Bugout. And the reason that I do that is because the Benchmade Bugout has the most classic knife lines of all time, right? So it's always funny to hear the word copy thrown in there when you're essentially just saying normal knife handle and drop point blade, right, is like somehow owned by the Bugout, or it's unique to the Bugout. It's not. But in this case, this is incredibly similar. This is absolutely as close as they could possibly get to the Benchmade Bugout without absolutely copying it line for line, which they didn't. They did not. It does have its own lines. But this is the perfect type of knife for people who look at the Bugout and think, this is I like this idea, right? But I can't afford that. Now, the Benchmade Bugout, of course, made in the USA. If that's really, really important to you, then of course, go right ahead. But, everybody's got a different budget, and budget alternatives of things have always existed and always will. So this is absolutely a good budget alternative. I just wanted to say this right off the bat. This knife is very inexpensive, and overall, I'm going to recommend it. There's a couple of things that kind of bother me, though, and it's because they had an opportunity here to just absolutely knock it out of the park. And they just missed on a couple of little tiny annoying things, and we'll go over it. I'll link this down below. It comes in a few different colors. Some interesting stuff. Green and pink, right? Also comes in black if you don't want these Easter candy colors that they seem to have done here. Thanks so much to CJRB for providing this knife review. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Okay, let's go ahead and get a measurement here. The overall length of the Hectare is coming in at 7 1/4. Blade length is coming in at, it's like 3 1/16. Yeah. Cutting edge is coming in at 2.75. How about some size comparisons? Let's go ahead and just do the Bugout. Now, I've got, aftermarket scales, right? Yeah, this is what they were going for. I mean, we have a slightly different blade shape. We've got slightly different handle lines, right? But again, if we're going to say it's the handle being copied, I got a list of about 500 other pocket knives that have used this exact same handle profile. So we've got to pump the brakes there, right? The overall package, 100%. This is just very clearly like supposed to be around the same type of thing, right? But zeroing in on one element, we'd have to say X amount of knives over the last, 100 years also have copied the Bugout, even before the Bugout came into existence. But definitely. Now, a knife that is certainly meant to compete with the Bugout, but has its own profile, the Hogue Deca. Here it is up against the Hogue Deca. You can see it's actually quite a bit different. Another similarly sized knife. I guess we could call this Civivi's Bugout, the Elementum. And then actually, what else would be really helpful is to put it up against the Pyrite. Very similar to the Pyrite, it's just more Bugouty. It's kind of a Bugouty Pyrite, right? Crossbar lock Pyrite, kind of. Up against some larger stuff. Any custom scales you see can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. Up against the AD10 and the AD20. And I think we'll just do, let's do the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue. And how about the Spyderco Para 3? Just to wrap that up. How's the action? It's good, but this is kind of where it bothered me. It bugged me a little bit. Sorry, I apologize for that. So this is a crossbar lock, runs on bearings, right? We have this opening hole. Now, looking at the blade, it's like, oh, perfect. That's like ideal, right? I would love to have a Bugout with the opening hole on it. Well, the problem is they they prioritized the handle shape. They went full on, and it's very ergonomic, right? And it works because this handle profile has always worked. But look what happens when we close this. What? I mean, I can still get at it. I can get at it, but I got to dig a little bit. This, if we're going to do this, right, then the handle needs to accommodate for this area. Just go ahead and carve this whole area out, just right underneath. And then why have we scalloped here? There's nothing here. There's nothing to access here. There's no, I mean, are you guys going to do a studded version of it? And the stud is going to be right here? Okay. But this opening hole version, we have to have this open enough to access it. I mean, you can, but it's an awkward dig. The reason I mean, truthfully, the amount of inconvenience that this is causing me is negligible. It's trivial. But it bothers me because it's like, why not go ahead and just make this perfectly convenient, right? Why stop right here? Ah, well, like people like the hole, put the hole on it. People like these lines. Okay, put the lines on. The lines could be altered slightly, sacrificing absolutely no, ergonomic excellence, and accommodate much more for the opening hole. This is what would have made this an absolute home run, is just access to that opening hole. But the access is slightly blocked off. It's really weird. So yeah, now the crossbar lock itself, very good. Nice and high tension. I got to say this, at this price point, and we're doing, Omega springs, just include another set. There's only one set in the box, right? And those cannot, there's no way that those cost hardly anything. CJRB, you should, if you're going to do crossbar locks, this is to every company. If you're going to do a crossbar lock, just include another set of Omega springs in there, whether they be an alternate tension or just extra of the same tension. That's just a good idea. That way, if something happens, then it's not the easiest thing in the whole world to switch out the Omega springs, but it's absolutely doable. People buying these things and using them, because at this price, nobody's going to mount this over their fireplace, right? They're going to use it. And so if the Omega springs break, yeah, you can just go on eBay and find the right size and replace the Omega springs. You can do that, right? But it's kind of a pain. It'd be nice to just have the extra Omega springs in there. A lot of other companies like Kaiser are doing this right now, where they just add additional Omega springs in there, and it's nice. So I think that would be cool to do. But the tension on the crossbar lock is very good. The action is very good. What's creating the detent is also very, very good. Just makes it that much more frustrating that I can't get the absolute perfect leverage on this. It's also going to make it a little bit harder to open. Something that I really like about an opening hole is if I'm wearing gloves, it's much easier to manipulate this type of knife than something that is it has a thumb stud, in my experience. So blocking access to it just makes the whole thing harder. So yeah, the action is good, but it could be better, much better, if we could just get underneath there a little bit, right? I mean, for real, it's literally just carving a larger area out, which is not going to be that much of a problem if we just this area just gradually turns into this and we don't have a bump. It's not like this lock-in is so necessary that it absolutely has to be there. It doesn't, right? So anyways, that's my take on that. Carry profile, thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3, it's very thin. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. As you might expect, this carries a lot like the Bugout. It's going to be pretty easy to carry. Let's take a look here. Here's something they did really well. I love this. The liners are nested and full all the way. It's not a cartridge liner. That means we don't need all of this. Look at this, man. 1, 2, 3, 4. For some reason on the stop pin, no company needs to do this ever. Why? Because the stop pin can just sit in there. It doesn't need to be screwed in, right? So we have literally just 2 screws on each side, or one of them is going to be, the pocket. If you flip it over to the other side, it's going to be the same. But yeah, it's not a lot here. So we have G10 scales, nested steel liners, and then just a few fasteners. They did that much better, and I really appreciate that. Weight on this guy, I bet you it weighs pretty close to what the Bugout weighs. Maybe a little bit more, but that's trivial to me. It's under 3 ounces, right? So in terms of the blade to weight ratio, very, very good. Balance on this knife is probably also right where you expect it to be. Yeah, it's right there where you're going to have your index finger anyway. So that's good. Hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I feel like that's a... I grabbed my tape measure. I feel like that's a T10. Am I wrong? I guess I am. Okay. Sorry. I thought for sure. Yeah, it's really throwing me off because the body screws are definitely T8 as well. Just the fastener head was a lot larger. Okay. Yeah, we still have this on both sides. Is this a free spinning situation? That one's coming out by itself, but can this one come out? Is it? This is weird. Yeah, it can. I don't know. This is one of the things they did not copy. This is like a Spyderco kind of thing. It's much like this. You guys probably should have copied what Benchmade does here, which is a D-shaped pivot barrel, because we have 2 separate adjustment heads. And while you can very easily, I think I just made the action better. On accident. Is this loose now? No. Okay, now it's like completely dropping shut. But it's very Spyderco-y. It's like 2 adjustment heads. We should have a D-shaped pivot barrel and 1 adjustment head. But this isn't that big of a deal. At least it's not free spinning. Something is allowing this to come out and this one to come out, independently and not like spin with each other. So that's fine. And then these body screws are all T8, which is fantastic. Thank you very much. No. Are these also? Nah, they didn't go that far. Those are T6. T6 pocket clip screws. Hey, but that's fine. As far as crossbar lock, knife goes, that part's going to be a little bit more tricky, but totally doable. You only have a couple of screws to deal with, and they're T8. That's fantastic. Okay, let's measure blade stock thickness real quick, and then we'll get on with it. The blade stock thickness on the Hectare 0, please, there we go, is very thin, like 102 thousandths, as it should be. Okay, let's move on to the meat and potatoes here. This is this doesn't really require much of a review. It's exactly what you'd think, but I'll just go over the small details here. Is it comfortable to hold? Yes, it is. This actually feels more solid. This is the reason I cannot, but I can't go. The Bugout is a cool knife, right? I can't stand how cheap the standard one feels. Now, this is actually an inexpensive knife, and ironically, it feels substantially more. It's not really ironic. It feels substantially more sturdy than the standard Bugout, while being it's heavier in an absolutely trivial way. It's just the G10 scales and the fully nested skeletonized steel liners. It just makes it feel a lot more solid, right? Now, is it actually more durable? Unlikely. But I do like how it feels. The edges are also knocked down. This is very comfortable. Their pocket clip, while it could have been a little shorter, I think that's something that Benchmade does better, is their pocket clip here is shorter. This is fine, and I don't really consider it much of a hotspot. Something where CJRB did something better here, in my opinion, is the inclusion of the large choil. This is a large safe choil, and I really like this. Some people don't. I do. So I guess this is just my personal opinion. It's an improvement, and it also is like a differentiating, like it's something that they did that Benchmade just doesn't do, right? But I do like that. I also like the blade geometry. It is very thin and very slicey. This is, of course, AR RPM 9. If you're not familiar with that, it's a powder form steel that is exclusive to CJRB and Artisan Cutlery. It's like a powder formed 9CR18 MOV. and is perfectly suitable, you know, for this territory. It's pretty much the only powder form steel you're going to find in this territory, so that's fine. Yeah, the cutting geometry is great. It's got a nice little tip there. I mean, it's just a very traditional, straightforward drop point blade, and it works. We have AR RPM 9 and then a code on this side, and then it says CJRB. Not bad at all. That's pretty much it. There's really nothing else to say about the blade. The jimping back here is functional, and it's a nice complement to the index finger position. Like if you need to do, you know, if you need to hold your knife like this and do some detail work on something, that'll work. The blade is also short enough that getting your index finger up on the nose of the blade to do a like a draw cut. While this isn't like the perfect blade shape for that, it will work absolutely. It's just a good all the way around, you know, EDC knife. Now this knife is not going to win any awards in the overall durability department. We have a pretty thin blade, right? We have a pretty thin materials all the way around. So obviously you're not going to want to take this out and chop down trees with it or pry anything with it. Not that you should be prying with any pocket knife. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Cold Steel fans, who are like, I know of a knife and a locking system that you could definitely pry. I'm part of the secret organization that is aware of the secret knowledge that is Cold Steel knives and Triad Lock products. Okay, so I'm gonna step up here and inform everybody. Yeah, everybody knows. Everybody knows. Now you still shouldn't be. You still shouldn't be prying with pocket knives. That's a good way to screw it up. But obviously not with something like this, right? I mean, if you're really going to do it. Anyways, we got a lanyard hole. Great. A couple of standoffs here. We have the pocket clip, which is not nested into the frame. That's okay. A couple of screws. You can flip it over the other side. So lefties, you can enjoy this the exact same way that a right-handed person would. So that's nice. We have the stop pin located in its traditional spot. We have there's no shouldering whatsoever, but that's okay. It does run on bearings, no blade play, up, down, left, or right. Does CJRB's crossbar lock hold up? Usually, crossbar locks don't have an issue with, disengaging on a spine whack test, right? It's totally fine. So that's fine. Yeah, it'll hold up. Obviously, you're never, unless you're just being an absolute idiot, you're never going to apply that much force to the spine of this knife, ever. But if you find yourself idioting, then you can rest assured it should stay in place, so that's fine. This knife, the least expensive I could find this on the internet right before I started this video was $48. Yeah, this is fine. This is great. It's a budget alternative to Bugout. Now, this is not like this, big like, oh my gosh, we finally made it. The culmination of, innovation and design. It's all right here. We finally have a budget alternative. No, it's just fine. If you just really, really like the Bugout and you really don't want to pay that money for it, then you have an alternative with CJRB in the Hectare. You'll find it slightly annoying that you can't get at the hole like perfectly, but it does work. It's just really hard for me to argue or be super upset about that when this thing, like at first I looked on their website and on CJRB and Arts and Colors website, which will be linked down below as well, it said that it was like $67 and I was like, eh. But then I found it online at a bunch of retailers for $48 to $50, which I think is more than fair. At that price, I really can't complain. This is just a good, daily budget folding knife. But they really should have put the cherry on top by allowing more access in here somehow, right? Or not doing this at all and just giving us a thumb stud, right? Maybe they thought that if they put a thumb stud on it, then it would be exactly like the Bugout. I mean, you guys are already so close, right? You're already there. It's not like that's the line. So, I don't know. It's good. I like it. I'm going to put it in my Cheap Knives I Like playlist, and I'm going to put it in my Recommended Knives playlist as well. I am annoyed with the opening hole thing, but the price is too good to get that upset about it. So, That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.